A newlywed couple steps off a private jet, greeted by the warm Caribbean breeze and the sight of crystal clear waters stretching into the horizon. It's everything they've ever dreamed of. A luxury resort tucked away on an exclusive island surrounded by palm trees, endless sunshine, and the kind of paradise people only see in magazines. The groom, a powerful Australian billionaire, leads the way, his smile wide, his posture confident. His bride, a young woman from the Philippines, walks beside him, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She's on top of the world, basking in the beauty of her new life. The resort staff welcomes them with fresh flowers, and the promise of endless bliss fills the air. This is supposed to be their moment, the beginning of forever, a time to relax, explore, and celebrate the love they've just committed to. But beneath the surface of this dream, something feels off. As they walk hand in hand toward their suite, something in his eyes flickers, a possessiveness that seems out of place in this paradise. To the outside world, they are the perfect couple. To her, it feels like the honeymoon is just the beginning of something much more complicated. Is this paradise or has the nightmare already begun? For most couples, the honeymoon marks the beginning of a beautiful journey together, a time to bask in love and laughter. But for this couple, their dream escape would soon become something far more chilling. As the days unfold, the bride, eager to explore the island and soak in every moment, begins to notice strange behavior from her new husband. He's protective, yes, but there's something more to it. His attention is all-consuming. His jealousy grows with each passing hour, and suddenly the very paradise they've come to enjoy feels confining. Every glance from another man, every innocent conversation, every smile, it's met with an unspoken tension. And the deeper she falls into the trap of pleasing him, the more she realizes there's no escape. What started as a dream honeymoon is quickly unraveling into something darker, something she never could have predicted. But how far will this go? What happens when love turns into a dangerous obsession? Stay with me. The truth is far worse than anyone could have imagined. John, in his 40s, exudes an air of success and wealth, always impeccably dressed in sharp suits that reflect his status. His well-groomed appearance and confident demeanor make him the picture of control, the kind of man everyone admires and respects. 2. Those around him, he is the perfect husband, charming, attentive, and seemingly devoted. But beneath the polished exterior, there's a darker side to him. His need for control seeps through in subtle ways. From the way he watches every interaction his wife has to the possessive glint in his eyes whenever she speaks to another man. While he remains calm on the surface, his unpredictability starts to surface in moments that catch her off guard. The smiles and compliments he showers her with mask a growing obsession, a desire to claim her completely. To the outside world, John is the epitome of love and success. But behind closed doors, his love morphs into something far more suffocating. The jealousy he hides behind a smile slowly becomes his most dangerous trait. And with every passing day, his possessiveness tightens its grip. Maria at 27 is a vibrant, kind-hearted woman whose beauty radiates both inside and out. She's graceful and poised with a warmth that draws people to her. Full of dreams and hopes, she's just beginning her journey into married life, believing in the power of love and the promise of a future with her new husband. Her devotion to him is unquestionable, and her trust in him runs deep as she eagerly embraces the role of a loving wife. However, as the days pass, small signs of discomfort begin to surface. Her unease grows quietly, like a shadow she can't shake off. Though she's deeply in love, a creeping feeling of being trapped starts to settle in her chest. The man she married, who once seemed so attentive and protective, now feels more like a warden than a partner. She begins to notice the possessiveness in his eyes, the way his mood shifts with every passing glance from another man. What started as a dream honeymoon slowly morphs into something she doesn't know how to escape from. Fear starts to replace the excitement she once felt. But she remains silent, unsure if this is something she can endure or something she needs to flee from. The couple arrives at a breathtaking tropical paradise, a luxurious resort nestled on the edge of an idyllic island. Warm golden beaches stretch for miles, fringed with swaying palm trees, and the crystal clear waters shimmer in the sunlight, inviting them to relax and unwind. This is a place that promises romance. Secluded villas with private balconies overlooking the ocean, intimate candle-lit dinners by the beach, and the kind of beauty that seems to exist only in postcards. It's everything they had envisioned for their dream honeymoon, a place where they should be able to celebrate their new life together. But as the days unfold, the beauty of the location begins to feel more like a facade. The warm breeze and the sound of the waves crashing against the shore become distant contrasts to the tension brewing between them. While the world around them is bathed in sunlight, the growing unease between the bride and groom casts a shadow over the paradise they're supposed to be enjoying. The groom's overbearing attention starts to suffocate the bride, turning what should be a tranquil escape into a gilded cage. The contrast between the stunning serene backdrop and the dark undercurrents of their relationship creates an eerie disconnect. What was once a dream now feels like a trap. On the second day of their honeymoon, the couple enjoys a quiet breakfast by the beach. The sun rising over the horizon, casting a soft glow across their table. The groom watches his bride, admiring her beauty as she sips her coffee. But when the waiter, a young man with a polite smile, approaches to refill their glasses, he lingers just a little too long. He compliments Maria on her smile, and for a brief moment, their eyes meet, sharing a warm exchange. The bride, unaware of the weight of the situation, thanks him with a gentle smile, her heart light with the carefree joy of the moment. But the groom's expression shifts immediately. His pleasant smile fades as he watches the interaction, his jaw tightening slightly. As soon as the waiter walks away, he leans in, his voice low but sharp. "Why did you smile at him like that?" Maria blinks, caught off guard by the question. "What do you mean?" She responds, a laugh escaping her lips, thinking it's a joke. "You were flirting with him, weren't you?" He presses, his tone colder than before. "It's not appropriate." Maria laughs again, dismissing the accusation. "No, it wasn't like that. He was just being polite." But inside, something shifts. It's the first time she's seen this side of him, this need for control, this subtle warning. She brushes it off, thinking it's just jealousy, something small she can handle. After all, he's just protective, right? But the seed of doubt begins to grow. This moment, so seemingly trivial, marks the beginning of something far darker. It's the first sign of his possessiveness, the first crack in the perfect honeymoon facade. The honeymoon continues, but with each passing day, the bride's excitement starts to knee. What was once a dream escape filled with the promise of adventure is now becoming a battleground of subtle control and silent tension. Maria is eager to experience everything the island has to offer. Snorkeling in the crystal clear waters, shopping at the local markets, and enjoying the vibrant culture. She wants to feel free to immerse herself in the beauty around her. But with each new plan, the groom's controlling nature tightens its grip. At the beach, while Maria eagerly adjusts her snorkel mask, ready to explore the coral reefs, John suddenly changes the plan. "Let's not go too far out," he says, his tone firm, his eyes scanning the area as if assessing the people around them. Maria hesitates, but agrees. "All right, we'll stay closer to shore." Even in the middle of their shared joy, she feels his watchful eyes on her, not allowing her to fully embrace the moment. Later that day, at a lively market filled with local artisans and colorful souvenirs, Maria is drawn to a small stall selling handcrafted jewelry. She admires a delicate silver bracelet, and the merchant, an older man with a warm smile, compliments her on her taste. "It would look perfect on you, miss," he says kindly. Maria smiles and thanks him. But as she turns to John, she sees the flicker of anger in his eyes. Without warning, he steps forward, his voice rising just a touch. "You don't need any more jewelry. You're fine the way you are." Maria feels a knot tighten in her stomach. "John, it's just a bracelet," she says, trying to laugh it off, but his expression remains cold. The merchant, sensing the tension, quietly steps back, and Maria quickly pays for the bracelet, eager to leave. But that's not all. As they move further through the market, a guest from the resort, another man, younger and friendly, greets them with a smile. He waves at Maria, complimenting her on her bracelet and asking how her day is going. Maria, still trying to shake off the unease from her earlier interaction with John, smiles and exchanges a few words with him. Suddenly, John's grip on her wrist tightens, his eyes darkening. "You think it's appropriate to talk to him like that? Flirting with him now?" His voice is low but sharp, cutting through the light atmosphere of the market. Maria's heart races as she tries to pull away, embarrassed by the attention. "I wasn't flirting with him. John, please, it's just a conversation." But John's face hardens and he yanks her away from the crowd, isolating her from everyone. The anger and jealousy building in him have finally erupted. And now the once inviting world around them feels colder, smaller. Maria, confused and shaken, tries to apologize, but the words are caught in her throat. She can feel the shift happening. A shift from love to something much darker, something she can't fully understand, but already fears. What was supposed to be a carefree vacation filled with excitement and exploration has become a cage. The walls are closing in and Maria is trapped inside, trying to hold on to the love she once knew, but knowing deep down that the dream honeymoon is slipping through her fingers. The evening arrives, bringing with it a warm breeze and the gentle hum of the resort's beachfront bar. The setting sun paints the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink, casting a golden glow over the guests as they sip cocktails and enjoy the sounds of steel drums in the distance. Maria, feeling a brief moment of peace, relaxes on a bar stool, watching the ocean waves crash rhythmically against the shore. She's dressed in a simple flowing dress, her hair loose around her shoulders, trying to savor what's left of their honeymoon. The groom stands nearby, engaged in conversation with a group of other vacationers, his posture perfect, his voice smooth and confident. For a moment, Maria lets herself unwind, catching glimpses of the people around her. A group of men a few tables away are laughing, joking amongst themselves, clearly enjoying the night. They're loud and carefree, their voices mixing with the sound of the music. And as Maria glances at them, she finds herself briefly amused by their laughter. It's a quick, innocent moment, nothing more than a passing look. But to John, it's something much darker. His eyes narrow as he watches her, his smile fading. When she turns back to him, the tension in his face is unmistakable. Why were You looking at them? He demands suddenly, his voice sharp, cutting through the relaxed ambience of the bar. His eyes burn with a fury that surprises her. Maria blinks, stunned by the sudden shift in his demeanor. What do you mean? She asks, her heart beginning to race. The laughter from the group of men continues, but it feels distant, as if she's hearing it from another world. Don't play dumb, Maria. You think I didn't see? You were looking at them, flirting with them. His tone is low, but his words are harsh, laced with an anger that feels completely out of proportion. The smile he wore moments ago is gone, replaced by a possessive glare that makes her stomach twist. Maria tries to explain, her voice trembling slightly. No, John, I wasn't flirting. But he cuts her off, leaning in closer, his breath heavy with tension. You think I'm stupid? You disrespected me. In front of everyone, the words hang in the air, and Maria feels the room close in around her. The once beautiful evening now feels suffocating, as if the weight of his accusation is too heavy to carry. The guests around them continue chatting, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. But for Maria, the world has narrowed to just John and his icy stare. I wasn't looking at them like that, she says, her voice softer now, trying to calm him down. Please, John, it was nothing. But he doesn't listen. His eyes don't soften. They only harden. He's not hearing her anymore. His mind is consumed with jealousy, and the idea that she might have done something to betray him is now all that matters. He grabs her arm more forcefully than before, pulling her away from the bar. Maria stumbles, the sudden movement taking her off balance, but she says nothing. She knows it won't make a difference. She tries to smile, but it feels strained, forced, like she's trying to convince both him and herself that everything is okay, but it's not okay. Her heart pounds in her chest as she's led away from the crowd, away from the laughter and music. The brief moment of freedom she had is gone, replaced by a growing knot in her stomach. The honeymoon that was supposed to be filled with joy has quickly transformed into something she can't understand and can barely escape from. As the days stretch on, Maria's once carefree excitement fades into a constant undercurrent of anxiety. She tries to hold on to the dream of her honeymoon, but the tension between her and John is impossible to ignore. Each day, the weight of his possessiveness presses down harder, and she feels herself shrinking under the suffocating pressure. Maria wants to believe that he's just jealous because he loves her, that his actions are a reflection of deep affection. But as the arguments continue and his grip on her grows tighter, a small voice inside her begins to question everything. The man she married who seemed so perfect, so charming, has become someone she's afraid of, someone who can turn from sweet to volatile in the blink of an eye. In public, she smiles, trying to keep up the illusion of the perfect honeymoon. But the smiles are harder to fake now. In moments when she's alone, her face betrays the turmoil inside her. Close-ups reveal the subtle tremble of her lips as she forces a smile. The way her eyes dart nervously, avoiding eye contact with others. Her hands, once steady and confident, now shake when she reaches for a drink or brushes her hair behind her ear. She's afraid of him, but she's also afraid of losing him. Her mind constantly races between wanting to please him, wanting to believe in the love he promises, and the growing realization that his behavior is crossing a line she can't ignore. She feels trapped, torn between the man she loves and the man he's becoming. Every time he accuses her of something she didn't do, every time he isolates her from others, she feels her heart sink a little more. Her excitement for the honeymoon activities, once a source of joy, now feels hollow. Snorkeling, shopping, enjoying the beach, it all feels overshadowed by the weight of his eyes watching her every move. Even the simple act of speaking to a stranger fills her with dread. Will he be angry? She wonders. Will this be the moment he blows up again? Her internal struggle intensifies with each passing day. Is this what love is supposed to feel like? She asks herself, her mind clouded with confusion. But no matter how much she tries to deny it, something inside her knows what she's experiencing isn't love. It's control. She looks at him. Sometimes, her heart aching, and wonders if this is the man she's truly married. The man who promised to love and protect her, or the man who now seems to want nothing more than to own her. It's a warm, breezy evening at the resort's beach bar. The sound of the waves crashing softly against the shore, the clinking of glasses, and the soft laughter of other vacationers creating a relaxing ambience. Maria sits at a table near the bar, her legs stretched out, enjoying the cool breeze as she sips on a cocktail. She feels a rare moment of peace, the weight of the past few days, lifting just slightly. The ocean view before her is breathtaking, and for a fleeting moment, she lets herself be swept away by the beauty of it all. John is standing by the bar, chatting with a few other guests, laughing, his arm casually resting on the back of Maria's chair as he looks around. His presence is constant, like a shadow. But it's still easy to forget the growing tension between them when he's being so charming. But then, as Maria lets her gaze drift toward the horizon, her eyes catch a group of men at the far end of the bar. They're laughing loudly, having a good time, and one of them flashes her a quick, friendly smile. It's nothing more than a brief exchange, an innocent glance, just a group of men enjoying their vacation. But to John, it's the spark that sets the fire. His gaze shifts immediately, his posture stiffening, and a dark look crosses his face. Without warning, he strides over to her side, his movements quick, almost too quick, and leans in close. His voice is sharp and low, enough to make her jump slightly in surprise. "Why were you looking at them like that?" he demands. His voice cold, laced with a growing fury that makes Maria's heart race. Maria looks up at him, her brow furrowed, confused by the sudden change in his tone. "What? I wasn't." But before she can explain, he cuts her off, his face contorted with jealousy. "You think I didn't see? You were staring at them." His words are like a slap, loud enough that a few guests nearby glance over at them. The crowd begins to notice and a few quiet whispers fill the air. Maria feels the heat of the attention. The eyes of strangers on her, but her focus is solely on John, whose anger is now a visible force. "John, no. I wasn't looking at them like that. It was nothing, but..." He isn't listening. He leans in closer, his face inches from hers, the anger now barely contained. "You think you can embarrass me in front of everyone? You think it's okay to flirt with them?" Maria's hands tremble slightly, the warmth of the evening now feeling suffocating. She tries to keep her voice steady, but it cracks under the weight of his glare. "John, please stop. It was just a glance. It doesn't mean anything." She can feel her heart pounding in her chest as she looks around nervously, aware that others are watching. But instead of calming down, his rage only intensifies. His grip on her arm tightens and he jerks her up from the chair, pulling her away from the bar and toward the secluded path that leads back to their suite. The crowd falls into an uncomfortable silence as they watch the scene unfold. "I told you," he hisses, his voice dangerously low. "You're mine, and you'll never make a fool out of me again." Maria is speechless, her mind Racing, her stomach tightening. She feels trapped, caught between her desire to avoid making a scene and the fear that if she doesn't calm him down, it could escalate even further. She tries to speak again, but he's not hearing her anymore. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to," she whispers, trying to appease him. But he's beyond reason now. His jealousy turned into something much more dangerous. As they disappear from view, the lingering eyes of the guests tell the story. Some look on with confusion, others with pity, and a few with quiet discomfort. But for Maria, the night has taken a dark turn. The paradise they've come to enjoy now feels like a prison she can't escape. And she realizes with a sinking heart that the man she thought she knew is changing before her eyes. The resort, once a sanctuary of relaxation and joy, now feels like a cage. As John drags Maria through the quiet resort paths, the beautiful surroundings blur into a haze of dread. The soothing sound of the ocean is drowned out by the pounding of her own heartbeat. Each step taking her closer to the suite, closer to the storm she knows is coming. John's grip on her wrist is tight, almost suffocating as he pulls her with force. His usual calm demeanor is gone, replaced by a fury that blinds him. She stumbles slightly, trying to keep pace, but his grip only tightens. His voice, when he speaks, is cold and full of contempt. "I can't let you embarrass me," he growls, his words sharp like a knife. He's not just angry now. He's consumed by something darker. His need to control, to possess her has twisted into something violent. She wants to speak, to apologize, to explain, but her throat is tight with fear. "John, please calm down. You're making a scene," she says softly, her voice shaky, but he doesn't respond. He doesn't hear her anymore. All he hears is the imagined betrayal, the imagined disrespect, and he's too far gone. They reach the door of their suite, and John slams it shut behind them, the force of it echoing through the empty hallway. The sound of the lock clicking shut feels like the final nail in the coffin. The paradise that once promised relaxation now feels like a trap. Maria's chest tightens as she stands in the middle of the room, watching him pace, his anger radiating off of him in waves. "You think you can just look at other men and get away with it?" John hisses, his fists clenched by his sides. His voice shakes with the weight of his rage, and Maria instinctively takes a step back, her heart racing faster. "I wasn't looking at them like that," she pleads, her eyes wide with fear, her voice breaking. "It was just a glance, nothing more, I swear." But he doesn't listen. The more she tries to explain, the more his anger builds. His eyes, once filled with affection, are now cold and empty. He's a stranger, someone she no longer recognizes. She backs up, but there's no escape. Without warning, John's hand shoots out, grabbing her wrist again, this time with more force. "Don't lie to me," he yells, his grip cutting into her skin. Maria gasps, the pain sharp. But it's not just physical, it's the fear that makes her knees feel weak. She tries to pull away, but his hold is too strong. The room seems to close in around her as she struggles to breathe, her mind reeling. "Please. John," she whispers, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't mean to upset you. I'm sorry. Please." Her voice trembles with desperation, but his eyes are filled with nothing but fury. He pulls her toward the bed, shoving her down onto it with enough force to make the breath leave her chest. "You're mine," he spits, each word laced with venom. "And I won't let you embarrass me again." Maria's heart pounds as she lies there helpless, her body shaking. She's Never seen him like this. Never imagined he could become so violent. The man she married, the man who promised to love and protect her, has become someone she's terrified of. The room feels suffocating. The air thick with tension and fear. Maria's mind races for a way out, but she can't think straight. She's trapped in a nightmare she can't wake up from. The man she once trusted is now the source of her greatest fear. And the terrifying thought lingers. What will happen next? John rages behind closed doors, his mind consumed by jealousy, his temper burning hotter with each passing second. Maria lies there, her body bruised not just by his hands, but by the mossen. The argument is over. 4. Now, the silence that follows is deafening. John, still consumed by his rage, has retreated to the far corner of the suite, muttering to himself, lost in the delusion of his own justification. Maria, her heart still pounding, feels the sting of both the physical and emotional scars left by the encounter. Her wrist throbs where he grabbed her, but it's the weight of the fear that lingers heavy in her chest. She quietly slips into the bathroom, the cool tiled floor offering a momentary escape from the chaos. The door shuts softly behind her, but the sounds of John's footsteps, his angry muttering, creep in from the other side. She leans against the bathroom counter, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her face pale and drawn, her makeup has smudged, her eyes red from both the tears and the fear. She barely recognizes herself. This woman staring back at her so different from the confident bride she was just days ago seems like a stranger. The faucet runs, the sound of water filling the sink, filling the quiet space. Maria turns the knob off and runs her hands under the cool water, letting it flow over her skin, trying to soothe the burning anxiety that has taken root deep within her. Her hands shake slightly as she splashes her face, willing herself to breathe through the panic that threatens to overwhelm her. She catches sight of herself again in the mirror. Her reflection looks tired, broken in a way she's never seen before. How did I get here? The question echoes in her mind, and she can't shake it. All the signs were there, weren't they? The possessiveness, the constant questioning, the subtle jabs disguised as care. She had seen it, but she ignored it. I should have known, she thinks, her eyes welling up once more. How could I not have seen it? She closes her eyes for a moment, trying to gather her thoughts, trying to make sense of what's happening. It feels like a nightmare, one she can't wake up from. The man she thought she knew, the man who swept her off her feet, is now the source of her greatest fear. She should have seen the warning signs. The way his jealousy crept in slowly, like a shadow, at first subtle and then consuming. She remembers the first time it happened, the first time he raised his voice, the first time he told her she belonged only to him. Her stomach churns at the realization. It's not just jealousy, it's control. It's fear. She reaches for the towel, wiping her face dry, her hands still shaking. The water did little to calm her nerves. She's scared, deeply, profoundly scared, not just of what John is capable of now, but of the growing realization that she might never escape this. The once vibrant honeymoon, the dream of love and a new life, has turned into a nightmare, and she doesn't know how to wake up from it. The thought lingers like a cold weight on her chest. If I stay, it'll only get worse. She takes one last look at herself in the mirror, trying to summon the strength to face him again. But in her eyes, she sees something new, something that wasn't there before. A quiet resolve. She doesn't know how, and she doesn't know when. But deep down, she knows she can't live like this forever. But now, she wipes away the last of her tears, takes a deep breath, and steps back into the chaos. Unsure of how to fight for her freedom, but knowing that something inside her is waking up the fight for herself. The suite feels suffocating as the silence between them stretches on, thick with tension. Maria stands in the middle of the room, heart racing, her body stiff with fear. She can feel John's presence, a dark shadow looming over her, his anger simmering beneath the surface. He hasn't said a word since she returned from the bathroom, but the silence speaks volumes. His eyes, cold and filled with rage, never leave her face. Suddenly, the calm breaks. John steps toward her with a force that makes her step back instinctively. His voice, when it comes, is barely contained. You think you can look at other men and get away with it? You think I won't do something about it? His words are like a trigger. Maria freezes, her body going cold, her mouth going dry. John, please stop. I didn't mean to. She stumbles over her words. Desperate to calm him, but he isn't listening. The tension in the air is suffocating, each breath harder to take. The thud of John's fist slamming into the nearby table breaks the silence, the force sending a glass toppling off and shattering against the floor. Maria flinches, her pulse pounding in her ears. She takes a shaky step back, her voice trembling. Please, John, I'm sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. Please stop. Her eyes are wide with terror, her hands raised in a futile attempt to shield herself from what's coming next, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. John's anger is no longer just words. It's physical. With one swift motion, he grabs her by the shoulders, spinning her toward him. The grip he has on her arms is brutal, his fingers digging into her skin as he shakes her. She gasps, trying to pull away, but his strength is too much. You think you can embarrass me and get away with it? His voice rises and every word cuts deeper. Then the last. The rage in his eyes burns hotter than the anger in his voice. He shoves her back, her body hitting the edge of the dresser with a sickening thud. The sharp pain makes her cry out, but John doesn't stop. The thuds of his fist landing against her body fill the room, drowning out everything else. The music from the nearby bar. The soft rustle of the ocean breeze. His fist strikes her side and the sound of his knuckles connecting with her skin is brutal. The force knocks the wind out of her, but she can't scream. She's too stunned, too terrified. Every strike, every hit feels like it could be the last. Her vision blurs as the pain takes over, her body trembling violently. Please, John, please stop. She pleads. Her voice breaking, barely more than a whisper now. The words are swallowed by his rage, drowned out by the sounds of destruction, the crash of furniture being overturned, the splintering of wood, the glass from the broken vase crunching beneath his boots. You will never do this again. His voice is guttural, each word laden with venom. She can barely hear him over the pounding in her head, the blood rushing in her ears. He grabs her again, pulling her up by the hair, her body dragged like a rag doll. She gasps in pain as he yanks her toward the bed. You think I'll let you disrespect me again? No one else can have you. You're mine, he growls, his grip tightening as if he can erase the world around him, as if she's nothing more than an object to possess. Maria's body shakes uncontrollably now. She barely recognizes the man before her. This isn't the man she married. This isn't love. This is violence. And as the blows keep coming, she realizes, with a sinking, gut-wrenching horror, that she may not survive this. Please. Stop, please, she gasps, her voice weak, her body broken, but her words are lost in the madness of his rage. The room is spinning. The sound of his fist hitting her again, the sickening crack as his knuckles meet her skin echoes louder than her own breath. The pain is unbearable. Each hit harder than the last. She tries to shield herself, but it's no use. There's nowhere to hide. Please, she whispers again, her voice barely audible, tears streaming down her face. But John is too far gone now, consumed by his own twisted need for control. With every strike, the reality of what's happening sinks in deeper. She is trapped in this nightmare. There's no escape, no way out. The moments between the blows seem endless. The silence between them suffocating. Her mind struggles to process what's happening. But all she can feel is the pain. All she can hear is the rage. And as she lays there broken, bruised, she wonders if this is how her life will end. Trapped, helpless, at the hands of the man who was supposed to protect her. But then the violence finally stops. The last blow lands with a thud, a final strike to her body. The room is quiet now, except for the sound of her shallow breathing. John stands above her, chest heaving, his eyes cold and distant. His rage has spent itself, and now there's only silence. Maria lies still, unable to move, her body battered and broken. Her face is bruised, her vision blurry, but the last thing she hears is John's footsteps as he walks away. The door clicking shut behind him. The paradise they had come to once enjoy is now a graveyard of shattered dreams. The dream honeymoon has ended, and with it, Maria's hope of escape. John's movements are slow, deliberate, as if the violence that just occurred was nothing more than an inconvenience, a small disturbance in his otherwise perfect world. He wipes the sweat from his forehead, still breathing heavily, his body relaxed in a way that makes it clear he has no remorse for what just transpired. His eyes once filled with rage, now look distant, blank, almost emotionless. He walks calmly to the balcony doors, his steps measured, his face impassive. The night air feels cool against his skin. But it does nothing to calm the fire still burning inside him. He leans against the railing, staring out at the ocean. The sound of the waves crashing below him, drowned out by the thoughts spinning in his mind. Behind him, in the room, the quiet is suffocating. Maria's body lies motionless on the floor. Her once vibrant face now a bruised mask of pain. Her eyes closed in unnatural stillness. Her body is limp, crumpled on the floor like a broken doll, untouched by the care she once received. The vibrant colors of her dress now seem so out of place in the tragedy that has unfolded. The air is thick with the scent of blood and brokenness, but John is disconnected, unmoved. He mutters to himself, his voice low and cold, as if trying to convince himself of the justification for his actions. She disrespected me, the words sound hollow. Without emotion, as though they are the simple conclusion to a logical problem. I had no choice, he adds, almost absently. His belief in his own actions remains unwavering. He truly feels no guilt, no shame. To him, it was necessary. It was deserved. Meanwhile, in the hallway outside, the sounds of the resort continued, a distant laughter from other guests. The rustle of the wind, but inside the suite, it's a haunting silence. The door is slightly ajar, and after a few long moments of tension, the sound of a light knock is heard. A soft voice calls from the hallway. Housekeeping, sir, are you in need of anything? No response. A beat of silence passes. The knock comes again, this time louder, more insistent. Housekeeping. Still nothing. Worried. The housekeeper, a young woman in her 20s, cautiously pushes the door open. Not yet fully aware of what awaits her, she steps inside, calling softly as she enters. "Sir, I'm here to tidy up." Her voice falters as she steps into the room, her eyes immediately catching sight of the destruction. The broken furniture, the overturned vase, the pieces of glass scattered across the floor. They all seem so out of place in this paradise. So out of place in what should have been a blissful honeymoon. And then she sees Maria. Her breath catches in her throat as she spots the bride lying motionless on the floor. Her body twisted unnaturally. The housekeeper freezes, her heart pounding in her chest as her mind struggles to process what she's seeing. For a long moment, she can't move. Her eyes flicker between Maria's lifeless form and the figure standing motionless at the balcony. Back turned, disconnected from the horror in the room, she stumbles backward, her hand shaking as she raises it to her mouth, trying to suppress the scream, threatening to escape, but it's no use. The scream erupts from her lips. Loud and full of terror. "Oh my God, she's dead." The words are rushed. Frantic, and then she turns, bolting out of the room, her steps echoing down the hallway as she races for help. The door slams open, and a few moments later, a hotel manager and another staff member rush into the room. They too are met with the horrifying sight of Maria's body, and their faces drain of color. The manager reaches for his radio, his hand trembling as he tries to make sense of the situation, his voice cracking as he calls for security. But John doesn't move. He's still standing at the balcony, staring out over the ocean as if nothing has happened. As if the woman who once laughed in his arms, who once trusted him completely, wasn't lying lifeless on the floor behind him. He feels no need to turn around. The staff's frantic attempts to help are ignored. The chaos around him becoming distant, as if it were happening in another world. He doesn't see the terror on their faces, nor does he care. The only thought in his mind is that this is how it had to be. She disrespected him, and now it's over. The sound of distant sirens fills the air as the staff begins to flood the room, but none of them can reach him. They stand there, frozen, unsure of what to do. Some keep their eyes on Maria's body, while others glance at John, unable to comprehend how such violence could have taken place in a place so serene, so perfect. John stands tall, his back still to the scene, his belief in his own righteousness unwavering. He's done what he believes was necessary. The truth doesn't matter to him. He's certain of it. And in his mind, nothing has changed. Not yet, anyway. The world outside continues, unaware of the tragedy that's just unfolded behind those closed doors. The honeymoon is over, and with it, so is a life that once held endless promise. The sound of sirens grows louder, slicing through the stillness of the resort. As the paramedics arrive, their bright red and white ambulance is parked near the entrance. Its flashing lights casting a harsh contrast against the otherwise tranquil setting. The staff moves quickly, ushering guests away from the scene, but the whispers among them are hard to ignore. Everyone is on edge. The tension in the air is thick. Something is terribly wrong. Inside the suite, the paramedics approach Maria's body, their expressions grim as they quickly assess the situation. One of them kneels beside her, checking for a pulse that isn't there. A hushed exchange between the paramedics confirms what they've already feared. It's too late. The life has been violently stripped from her. Her body a testament to the horror that unfolded behind closed doors. The body is carefully placed on a stretcher covered with a white sheet. The once luxurious suite now feels cold and lifeless. The romance of the resort shattered in an instant. As the paramedics move her out of the room, the staff watches in stunned silence. They glance nervously at each other, their faces pale, as if they've all suddenly realized they were witnesses to something far darker than they could have ever imagined. But amidst the chaos, one figure remains disturbingly calm. John, still standing by the balcony, does not react. He doesn't look at the paramedics or the staff that rushes in and out of the room. His expression remains unchanged. His movements deliberate and measured as though he's simply waiting for the next part of the evening to unfold. He watches the scene with the same detachment he'd shown earlier, as if everything that's happening around him is just noise, something happening to someone else, not to him. The staff, some of whom had witnessed the escalating tension between the couple, can hardly believe their eyes. For days, they'd observed the groom's behavior, the way he controlled every aspect of his wife's interactions with others, how he'd snapped at her over the smallest things. Some of them had even overheard their arguments, the raised voices, the slamming of doors in the halls. But no one had anticipated that it would come to this. No one could have imagined that the tension would boil over into such violence. Hotel employees who had interacted with the couple testify quietly among themselves, sharing their unease. One housekeeper recalls a moment when she had knocked on the door earlier in the week, only to hear muffled shouting from behind it. "I've never seen him like that before," the housekeeper says in a hushed voice. It was like he was a completely different person. Another staff member, the bartender who had served the couple drinks earlier that day, recalls how John's jealousy had been on full display. He was watching her every move. She barely spoke to anyone without him hovering. He was innate controlling. There was something about him that felt off, but you'd never expect something like this to happen. A bellboy, visibly shaken by what he's just witnessed, recalls a moment when John had snapped at a guest who had complimented Maria on her appearance by the pool. He got in the guy's face. The way he spoke to her. It was like she wasn't even a person, like she was just his possession. Each of them shares their stories quietly, almost in disbelief, as the weight of what has happened settles in. They had all seen the warning signs, the subtle shifts in the groom's behavior, but no one had truly understood the depths of it until now. His rage had been slow, building like a pressure cooker, and now the worst had come to pass. As the body is wheeled away, the staff stands in the hallway, their faces pale, the reality of what they've just witnessed sinking in. Their peaceful resort, once a place of dreams, has become a crime scene. A place where a woman's life was stolen. And a man who had once been viewed as the perfect husband is now the prime suspect in her death. John remains eerily calm throughout it all. His belief in his actions unshaken. He speaks only to the officers when they approach him, his words steady, controlled, but inside his mind is still racing, his thoughts only on one thing. She disrespected me. And as the officers lead him away, his detachment seems to grow. The man who once promised to protect her, now completely indifferent to the consequences of his actions. He walks without hesitation. The path ahead of him clear, as if he's already convinced that he did what was necessary. For the staff, the guests, and everyone involved, the truth is now undeniable. Behind the perfect facade of wealth and charm, a woman's life has ended. And the man who claimed to love her is the one who took it away. The police arrive in a flurry of action, the screech of their tires still echoing in the otherwise quiet resort. Officers rush through the lobby, making their way to the crime scene, where the gravity of the situation is apparent in every step they take. They are met by the resort manager, who, still pale and visibly shaken, directs them to the suite. Inside the room, John is eerily calm, standing with his back to the door as if nothing out of the ordinary has occurred. He doesn't seem fazed by the presence of law enforcement. No panic. No fear. His demeanor is that of someone who believes that his actions are justified, that he has done nothing wrong. The lead officer approaches him carefully, his tone firm but composed. "Sir, we need to ask you some questions." John turns, his face an emotionless mask. And without missing a beat, he begins to speak, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. "She was mine. She humiliated me. She disrespected me." The words spill out in a chilling matter-of-fact way, as though he believes they are reason enough for what he's done. His eyes, cold and unblinking, meet the officer's. Devoid of guilt, his belief unwavering. "I couldn't let her make a fool of me in front of everyone," he adds, as if it's the most logical thing in the world. His justification hangs in the air, thick with the terrifying truth of his mindset. There's no remorse, no regret, only a twisted sense of entitlement and ownership over the woman who has just been brutally taken from this world. The officer's hand tightens around his notepad, his expression unreadable, but the undercurrent of anger is unmistakable. He motions for another officer to approach and begin securing John's hands. As the handcuffs click into place, John doesn't flinch. There's no struggle, no protest. He simply stands still, his head held high, as though he has already accepted that what he's done is justified. Outside, Maria's family has been notified. The call comes to her mother first, the voice on the other end, delivering words that shatter her world in an instant. "Ma'am, I'm afraid we have some bad news. Your daughter has passed away." Her mother's voice cracks as she listens, each word hitting her like a physical blow. Her hand clutches the phone, her legs suddenly giving way beneath her. She gasps for breath, trying to process the words, but they seem unreal. "No, no, this can't be true." Her father, standing beside her, watches in stunned disbelief as his wife collapses into his arms. The weight of the news pulling them both under. The shock on his face is evident. How could this be happening? How could their daughter, full of life and hope, have been taken from them so violently, so senselessly? Maria's siblings are soon notified, too. Their faces etched with confusion and horror as they struggle to understand the magnitude of what's just been revealed. They were supposed to be celebrating the beginning of her new life, not planning her funeral. And now, all they can do is grieve. Their hearts broken by the brutal, unjust end of someone so loved. Back at the resort, the police are gathering their evidence. But the devastation is not just in the room. It's rippling outward. The staff, who had all witnessed the couple's escalating tension, stand together in the lobby, exchanging uneasy glances. The horror of what has happened weighs heavily on everyone. And John, he's led away by the officers without a word of protest. His face still blank, his mind clearly somewhere else. As he's escorted toward the police car, he glances out at the ocean as if his mind is a million miles away from the crime he's just committed. To him, this isn't a tragedy. It's simply an event that happened, a consequence of something she did. He never once questions his actions, never once acknowledges the life he's stolen. Or the family he shattered. As the car pulls away, the reality of the situation begins to settle in for everyone involved. The bride's family is left to piece together the shattered remains of their hopes for her future. A future stolen by violence and a man who couldn't accept anything less than complete control. The courtroom is Filled to capacity with reporters typing furiously and onlookers murmuring among themselves. The air is thick with tension, the bright lights of the cameras flashing with every movement. People from all over the island have gathered, their eyes glued to the trial, eager to see the fate of the man who has caused such an unimaginable tragedy. At the front, John sits in the defendant's chair, his posture unchanged. He looks calm, almost detached, as if he's already made peace with whatever outcome awaits him. His expression is neutral. His eyes cold and unblinking. The same sense of entitlement lingering in his features. He's not here to fight for his innocence. He's here because he believes what he did was right. The prosecution opens, presenting the overwhelming evidence against him. Witnesses recount the escalating tensions between John and Maria during their honeymoon, the numerous complaints from the hotel staff about his controlling behavior, the overheard arguments, and the several guests who saw the groom's jealous and violent tendencies firsthand. Each testimony paints a damning portrait of a man who had no regard for the woman he claimed to love, only a twisted obsession with possession. Then the photographs are shown, graphic images of Maria's lifeless body, bruised and broken, sprawled across the floor of the resort suite. The room is silent as the images flash on the screen. The brutality of the violence is impossible to ignore. The stark contrast between the pristine luxury of the resort and the horror that unfolded in that room. The courtroom feels colder as the weight of what happened sinks in. The prosecutor's voice is steady, but the emotion behind it is clear. This was not an accident. This was not a moment of passion. This was premeditated violence, fueled by a toxic obsession. Maria's life was taken in the most brutal way possible by the man who promised to protect her. The evidence is clear. The defendant is guilty of murder. But the defense tries to shift the narrative, arguing that John's actions were the result of a temporary breakdown, a moment of insanity triggered by jealousy. His lawyer paints him as a man who, though wealthy and successful, was overwhelmed by his emotions, unable to control himself in the heat of the moment. He is not a violent man by nature. The defense argues he was pushed to the edge by the perceived betrayal of his wife. The defense presents the argument of temporary insanity, claiming that John's mind was so clouded by the idea of betrayal that he couldn't make rational decisions. They suggest that his actions, while tragic, were a result of a momentary lapse in judgment, and he should be treated with understanding, not condemnation. But when it's John's turn to speak, the reality of the situation becomes even clearer. He admits almost casually to the violence. His words are chilling, his tone flat as he recounts what happened that night. She humiliated me. She looked at other men. I couldn't let that happen. I had no choice. She needed to know who she belonged to. His eyes never waver, his conviction unshaken. He doesn't show remorse. He doesn't acknowledge the brutality of what he's done. The courtroom goes still as his words hang in the air. His complete lack of regret is palpable. To him, it was an act of necessity. To him, what he did was justified. The judge, an older man with a stern face, listens carefully to both sides, but the evidence is undeniable. The photos, the testimonies, John's own words, all point to the same conclusion. This is not a case of temporary insanity, the judge says, his voice firm and resolute. What occurred here was not a moment of passion. It was a deliberate, cold, and calculated act of violence. The defendant's actions were driven by control, not love. His actions were unforgivable. The judge's final words strike like a hammer, the weight of them resonating through the room. Maria's life was taken from her in a brutal and senseless act. The defendant's lack of remorse, his justification of his actions, speaks to the true nature of his character. He will not be allowed to walk free among society. John, you are found guilty of first-degree murder. The words hang in the air as the courtroom is filled with the sound of murmurs. The weight of the verdict settles on everyone present. The victim's family, though devastated by the loss, feels the faintest flicker of justice in this moment. The man who took their daughter's life will face the consequences. You are sentenced to life. Imprisonment without the possibility of parole, the judge announces, his voice final. May you reflect on the consequences of your actions for the rest of your life. The gavel slams down, the sound echoing through the silence of the room. John's expression doesn't change. He doesn't react to the sentence. He simply stands, his face as cold and unreadable as ever. As the officers approach to escort him out, he walks out of the courtroom with the same detachment he showed throughout the trial. His head held high, as if this were all just another chapter in his life. For the family of Maria, there's no true justice. Their daughter is gone. And no sentence will bring her back. But at least the man who took her life is being held accountable. The courtroom. Doors close behind him and the world outside continues. Unaware of the pain that has been left in the wake of one man's obsession. Maria's life was full of promise. She was just beginning a new chapter. Her future stretching out before her with hope, love, and excitement. But that future was tragically stolen from her. Not by a moment of fate, but by the very man she trusted. The one who had promised to cherish and protect her. What should have been the beginning of her happily ever after turned into the end of her life. And all because of one thing, obsession. It wasn't love that John showed her, it was control. What started as a subtle need for attention and affection gradually morphed into something darker, something dangerous. And in the end, it wasn't enough to love her. He had to own her. He had to make sure she never strayed, never even looked at another man. And when she did, he took everything from her. Maria's death is a painful reminder of the devastating consequences of emotional abuse. The kind of abuse that doesn't always show on the surface. It's the controlling behavior, the jealousy, the isolation, things that can seem so small in the beginning, but build up over time until they're impossible to ignore. These warning signs are not to be brushed aside. They are real and they are dangerous. If you're watching this, and you see signs of control or manipulation in your own relationship or in someone else's, don't wait for it to escalate. Don't think it will get better with time. Because sometimes by the time we realize just how dangerous a situation is, it's already too late. If you or someone you know is experiencing emotional or physical abuse, speak up. Get help. Don't let love turn into obsession. It's never too late to take control of your life and seek the help you deserve. Reach out to trusted friends, family, or professionals. There are people who want to help you, who will stand by you. Don't suffer in silence. You're not alone. And if this story has made you reflect on the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with others who might need to hear it. Encourage them to open their eyes to what's happening in their relationships and to take action before it's too late. If you found this story impactful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories that uncover the dark truths behind seemingly perfect relationships. Together, we can raise awareness and help prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Thank you for watching. And remember, love should never hurt. Stay safe.